Hi, my name is Chris Rogan, and we're coming to you today from the Richmond-Wayne County Convention and Tourism Bureau. This is a pilot program and a segment of a series that we're going to start called Focus on the Arts for Richmond and Wayne County. We came here today because the art department from IU East and Tom Thomas and some of his students have highlighted and featured some of their artwork here at the Tourism Bureau, and we wanted to talk to Mary Walker about how it was all of this came about. This is Mary Walker. She is, I think, the executive director.
Correct.
Is that your title?
Correct.
From the Tourism Bureau. And Mary would like to tell us today a little bit about this new building, which is located on National Road East.
5701 National Road East.
Would you like to tell us about how it was we got to this point?
Sure, absolutely. The center itself is called the Old National Road Welcome Center, and the conceptual design of the center itself in the lobby area is made up of exterior building facades, and the reason for that is when we were looking at other centers throughout the state and even in Ohio prior to doing this project, we looked at what we liked and some of the things that we didn't like, and what we didn't want is to just have brochures that were just plastered on a wall that were almost overwhelming to the guest.
Well, that's expected. That's
Absolutely.
what we assume will be in here.
Absolutely. So what we wanted to do is to make it a more of a unique experience, at the same time touting the historical aspects that Wayne County has to offer, the historical heritage. And so we've done this by working with Tom Thomas and his art crew at IU East, as well as Diane Bailey was the designer to bring this into a workable fashion, if you will. So what the ultimate goal is to house about 8 to 10 display cases, as well as brochure racks within the facades themselves. So as people walk around, they will be categorized into attractions, lodging, events, recreation, and depending on what their interests are, they can go right to that facade and even walk around and get a flavor for everything.
Oh, it just makes it much more interesting for them to know what they're looking for. When you came to Tom Thomas with this idea, had you seen actual three-dimensional facades in other buildings to give you the idea of what you wanted to present to him, or did you just sit down with a session of what if we and just started like that?
Well, in terms of where I wanted to go, probably the best example would be at the Wayne County Museum in the lower level of the museum. They have the old village street.
Right.
And as I walked that throughout my course of time here in Wayne County, which I am a native, I really enjoyed that. I thought it gave a certain atmosphere. It explored the museum in ways that I think were different than just display cases. And it just provided a neat atmosphere for the guest.
Well, and your location here, being right off of 70,
yes,
was, I'm sure, part of this design.
Oh, sure,
to
absolutely.
get tourism in and people and coming through.
It's kind of interesting because the
exterior.
Used to be downtown. We used to be downtown on the promenade. Well, it wasn't accessible. When you look at the market that we're trying to attract, it's the interstate traveler, and it's the leisure market where there are 9 million cars that are traveling I-70 annually. And the question is, how can we get a greater percentage of that to Wayne County? How can we pull them off the interstate to stop? And one of those is to be a state welcome center.
Well, and if you haven't seen this building, coming across I-70, I think you can see it a little bit. Plus, it looks like a house. Yeah. It looks like somebody's home, and it's very inviting that way.
Well, you know, it's interesting that you say that.
Architecture.
It's interesting that you say that because one of the things when we looked at design, we didn't want to be the typical building that looked like a corporate office. We wanted to have people feel comfortable enough to come in shorts and sandals or a business suit. And so we came up with the house design, if you will, that did make it inviting. It I think, extends itself to the name Old National Road Welcome Center, and it certainly sets itself apart from the other businesses that are located here.
How is this building funded? How is it that you pay for all of this?
A lot of people think...
local people.
Well, yes, and I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of people think that it's local tax dollars that have gone in to build this building. That is absolutely 100% not correct. We are funded by a tax on the hotels, motels, and campgrounds of Wayne County. So the person who actually pays the tax are the transient travelers, the conventioneer, the motor coach participant, the leisure market, absolutely. And so they are the ones who essentially pay that tax. It is not a local tax that citizens of Wayne County pay. So it's neat to see a tax work in that manner where it's not a burden on the local community or the county, but yet do great things.
It's obvious. I'm always impressed by the tour buses I see coming through here, and you're obviously marketing Rose Festival or other events that are happening in and around the Wayne County area. So I would think that it's fairly obvious that it's those people that are coming to Richmond for that reason and helping to fund this. It's just a beautiful building, and it's still kind of under construction here. Tom and his crew are working towards that, and it's really, really marvelous.
Thanks.
I'm very impressed. How many people do you expect to see in the next
Well,
coming months?
The projections, and again, this year we have not got our interstate signs up yet, which we're still working with the Indiana Department of Transportation as well as the Ohio Department of Transportation to get that done. But to date, we've had close to 1,300 people that have come through, and in the 12 years that we've been in business and have been located on the promenade, we didn't have that many in the whole 12 years, and so we've had that.
Parking, location, it's hard,
right.
It was hard to find.
Right, and it's not so much a matter of it being downtown and that downtown's not thriving and all those kinds of things. It was really that that's not where our market was, that we weren't accessible to the customer, that they weren't going to come down 10 minutes in a city that they're unaware of and find us. So it makes it much more accessible to be out here, to be 2,500 feet off of the interstate, and to have signage so we can direct people in. And then when we add the State Welcome Center concept in, because we are the first entrance into Indiana via I-70, it made a great partnership, cooperative partnership with the state of Indiana, and they fund this center $26,000 a year to help fund it as the operations of the Welcome Center. So we actually get twofold benefits. One is we get the designation as a state welcome center, which allow us to have interstate signage, as well as then we get the monetary value of the funding. So it's just a
well,
great...
and to be at the start of Old National Road right here. If you haven't taken Route 40 through east-west through Indiana, it's just beautiful.
Well, we'll serve as a kickoff point to the National Road. There is a three-county group that is working very diligently on developing a corridor management plan. Actually, they've already developed it, and that, I think, is going to really benefit Wayne County ultimately when it gets going and the excitement level gets up, because people want to travel rural America.
Right.
They want to get off the interstate. They want to take time. They want to go into the individual shops and take in the sense of place of each of those communities along the way, and I think that's just going to be a real terrific benefit for Wayne County.
Well, and obviously, since it's Wayne County, you're including Centerville, which people know about for antiquing and
Cambridge, and actually we even go so far as to one of the niches that we're dealing with is called the Indiana's Famous Antique Alley. So we, for the visitor, again, you can't think in terms of boundaries because they don't know any boundaries.
Right.
So we go all the way to Greenfield as it relates to coming up with antique shops and packages and those kinds of things.
Well, I noticed with a number of brochures, it certainly seems like you're highlighting many different facets of this. It was very nice talking with you. We're also going to talk to Tom Thomas, who, with some of his art students here, are going to highlight the artwork and the scenery that you see behind us and some of the facades that are on the walls. What you're looking at right now is an action mural that was painted by Tom Thomas and some of his students. You might have already seen something like this on the far east wall at Damon's Sports Bar here in Richmond. I'm assuming that's how this idea came about, is that Mary or you offered this as an idea?
Yeah, about 7 or 8 years ago, I had the idea that it would be really nifty if we could figure out a way to make a portable mural which could be sold on the mass market. And with the help of a lot of my talented students, I was able to bring this idea to fruition, and this is one of the results of that. This is an actual product which we make and we die cut.
And you're selling these now?
Yes, these are licensed products. We're licensed with 5 different universities right now, and of course 2 of them are Indiana University and Purdue.
Good start.
Yes, good start. And right now, especially with Purdue and basketball, the Damon's people about 2 years ago saw these murals. They were very impressed with them, and they decided that they would like to try a large one. And we also had been toying around with the idea of creating atmospheres with mural forms, and we had several ideas that were offshoots of that. Damon's took us on, and we did produce 2 very large murals for those
And these were students
walls.
of yours?
That's
How many
right.
of your students were able to participate
In
this
that
project?
particular exercise, there were 3 students that participated heavily in it. There was one other one who contributed a little bit, but there were 3 students who contributed to that idea. And then Mary Walker, when she saw the murals over there, she was very excited about them and thought about incorporating those into this project here. And this is exactly what we were looking for. We were looking for an opportunity to showcase the quality artists that we had already produced, and I mean the talented artists. the production of the
Well,
artists
it's wonderful.
themselves,
As an
you know.
artist myself, I
Yeah.
recognize that you're giving these kids an opportunity
Right.
to actually go out and make money.
Make money,
Make
right.
money, bottom
That's-
line, making some money,
And still be
displaying their
artists.
artwork,
Right,
which
right.
is a terrific vehicle for them to be seen.
Yes, this project is going to give us a chance to showcase about 10 different things. I have several of the artists with me today that are involved in this project. Mark and Carol Gardner, Dianna Toshlog, John Carter, Pam Mattingly, who is the authoress of this particular work behind us. And if I left anyone out, I don't think
Are
I've
these
left
murals
anyone out,
available
have
to
I?
the public yet?
These murals are
Technically.
available to the public. The small murals are designed to go on children's walls or in clubs or in recreation rooms, things like that. And we are really shooting at two birds at the moment. We're trying to get that off the ground, and we're also trying to get this atmospheric larger mural off the ground. And so I think that the results are pretty spectacular already, and I know that the Tourism Bureau is going to be probably the most unique tourism bureau in the United States.
Well, I would guess that
Yeah.
something the size of the mural you're talking about at Damon's, it would be nice for something like that to be available at other sports bars, maybe
Oh, yeah.
other chains,
Right.
and to incorporate it out here where a whole different group of people might be able to see it.
That's
is even
right.
better.
That's right. We have the historical vehicle. We have the sports. Of course, we could get into cartoons. We could get into pretty much anything. And with the artists that we've developed over the years from IU East originally, we were able to put together a crew that can make just about anything.
Great.
And so that's a really great.
Can we
asset.
talk to Pamela Bliss Mattingly,
Yes,
who did this
yeah,
backdrop
yes,
here for us?
you can.
Let's do that.
All right. Okay. Pam Bliss Mattingly, you're the author of this particular work over here. We've had a lot of wild ideas concerning this work, and I think the development of it is an interesting concept. We're not quite sure whether we're going to be able to pull it off or not. I think it's going to work, but Pam, why don't you tell us a little bit about what the concept is and what we think we're going to be able to make happen here.
Well, there's still several hours to work on it, but we've got, it's going to be a three-dimensional looking painting. We're going to put some figures, smaller or larger figures about this big in front of the people that's walking there now, but we're also going to put right in front, it's going to be a glass window, or probably plexiglass. And we're going to paint life-size faces of like children looking in like this, so it looks like
That are looking
you're-
back at us.
yeah, looking
Right.
like you're sitting at a window and the kids are looking in, or people walking by the window, and you're looking across the street at a drugstore scene, and it's of the 1950s.
Right. It's the idea, once again, it's the idea of looking back in time. We talked about Diane's idea of going back into time. This is another idea where we're trying to create the illusion of looking maybe out of a drugstore window or out of a department store window into the past, and the past is across the street. Now, we have to create this illusion in about 5 inches, which is kind of interesting. So Pam has got to create the image in such a way that it really does look like it is across the street, and then we have to create the illusionary intermediary images. And if anybody can pull this off, it's Pam. I'm really excited about this concept, and I think it'll be a really interesting thing to look at when you visit the center. Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
I'm sitting here with Dianna Toshlog, who's one of the artists who's involved in this project, and this is one of the more completed projects to date. And Dianna has done a really elaborate job of researching this project and working out the composition in relationship to the history of the National Road. I just thought it would be nice to have Dianna tell us a little bit about how she developed this and the kind of problems that she ran into. This is an incredible work to look at when you come out and visit the center. Dianna, how did you get started on this, and what kind of problems were posed when they asked you to do this particular mural?
Well, initially I had to do a lot of research. There aren't any, I couldn't take photographs of Conestoga wagons or the men on the horse and the old bikes. So I had to do a lot of research in order to develop it as my own artwork. And most of the time is in the research and a lot of little drawings. And then the car and the interurbans, I found some good photographs that I could use. The car is at the Historical Museum.
These are actual vehicles that were around the area throughout the history of the National Road. And the thing that I think is really great is that Dianna figured out a way to incorporate the pictorial element of the mural in with a very fine job of putting together a narrative. She also worked out, you did most of the writing of
The
this
narration.
as well, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And so what you have here is you have this misty black and white dirt road, which is in the background, and then as the forms move forward, they turn to color, and of course they become larger. So it makes a much nicer idea, and it incorporates both things. It incorporates the pictorial element as well as the narrative element. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for people to come out and check this thing out. Also, the craftsmanship on this is absolutely superb.
I wanted the effect that it looked like a time warp. The interurban and the car are coming from out of the past, and it's kind of a window into the past is what you're seeing. And then the narration, all the paintings actually follow how it narrates the National Road.
Yeah, I think it's really, really great. Well, thanks a lot for telling us about it. And
Thank you.
We've talked to Pam and Dianne so far, but I understand you have several other students who are involved in this project you'd like to mention.
Yes, we have 3 more students, and we also have an outside person, Dianne Bailey, who is a graduate of the architecture school at Miami University. Dianne Bailey is the person who designed the architectural layout of this project, and she's done it in a really nice way, which is going to integrate very well with the artwork, I think, and I didn't want to hesitate to mention her. She's designed it so we can accommodate the 26,000 expected guests that we're going to have at the center over the next year. The other people that I would like to mention are John Carter, who is a recent acquisition, who is working on a lot of the facades of the building, designing the various wood that's going to go on the fronts of the building. And then we have Mark and Carol Gardner, who have been, I call them my lifers. They've been around for a long time. They took a vacation for a while from me for a few years.
We have some of those at IU East.
Right,
lifers.
we have a lot of people who are affiliated with us for pretty much for life. They're my graduate students, you might say. And Mark and Carol are good at all-around art, and Mark is an excellent craftsman in woodworking, and he's going to be a great asset to help us finish the project up. And Carol is also a very talented artist who is working on just a little bit of everything. She's pretty much responsible for the Madonna of the Trail. Unfortunately, we don't have that here to show you, but she's also working on a large segment of the jazz mural.
Well, I noticed in one of your studios you have a life-size of Louis Armstrong also?
Life-size of Louis Armstrong, that's a mixture of Pam and Carol. Carol is working on part of it, and Pam is doing the portrait work. And we have a lot of collaborative projects which are hopefully going to be done in the next month. And but I did want to mention those people because they're a very integral part of this project.
And we'll be seeing some of their work.
You'll be seeing them
a little
working,
bit later.
yes, and hopefully when we return to look at the full project after it's finished, we'll be able to highlight what they've accomplished over the next month or so.
Well, this is being brought to you by IU East. I think you might want to mention we have a new building out there that houses several studios for you. We were
Right.
kind of cramped for a couple of years there, and now
For about 20.
Now
yeah.
you're spread out and lots
Right.
of room and lots of students. And what would you
Right.
like to tell us about that?
Well, we are working very rapidly towards putting together a 4-year art program. We are we have had the enthusiasm for 20 years. the program has risen to the numbers that we could have had to get it off the ground. The problem is we didn't have the facilities. At IU East, you can't acquire buildings because there weren't any around, so we had to make our buildings, and those cost a lot of money. So we now have a beautiful new art building. I believe that the studios are probably the finest in the state, and we're moving towards commercial art degrees and fine arts degrees and collaborative degrees, which have a mix of disciplines in them.
Well, I know in our Department of Humanities, we've talked about an interdisciplinary degree that would entail some literature and music and
That's right.
lots of things that would be very interesting to the well-rounded
Right.
humanities type person. We also have continuing studies programs for people who don't need credit,
That's
who
right.
just want to take art classes because they always wanted to learn how to draw.
That's right.
We've done some promos for those.
We get a lot of our permanent students from those classes. And the
And
thing
once
that...
the fear factor is taken out.
That's right. The
of
fear
being an
factor
artist.
actually is one of the biggest problems in getting people to come, because the fear factor, people had their second grade art teacher, who probably didn't know anything about art anyway, tell them they weren't any good.
Right.
And or they may have been, they may have been a raging neurotic that probably couldn't relate to anything.
I don't know
to do with
about you,
public
but
school. That's the kind of people we like.
As a, as a
we-
teacher, I find that it's very difficult to ever say to somebody, you don't have the talent. Somebody told my parents that about me, and hey,
Right. Now
you're
a movie star. Right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Well, you see,
But it's not up to us to decide that.
no, I
It's
think
up
the
to them
person
to
should decide, right?
learn and grow.
And that's one of the reasons that we're there. We're there to help a person decide whether they want to be an artist or not. And I think it's important to also keep in mind that probably more so than any other school in the state, we try to provide a 50-50 combination of experiences. We have an excellent fine art program with the Whitewater Valley. We're the only school in the area, and that includes all the larger schools, that offers a quality art competition like the Whitewater Valley Annual.
Which you have coming up.
That'll be in the fall again.
Okay.
We've
But you have a
had
high
20
school
years of yes, we have the high
exhibition
school art
coming up.
competition, which is another thing which we're reviving it. We didn't have the facilities
No, we have the
before.
space.
We have the space. The other thing that's really important is this kind of a project. The people who have the aptitude for commercial art, and a lot of those people also want to be fine artists, they have the opportunity to have two experiences. And this is a quality experience. It's a hands-on experience. And we've struggled for years with these ideas. But we are definitely an institution that pioneers in the act of trying to really create real jobs for our students. And the fine arts is an area that's an extremely difficult area to do that in.
Don't we know that?
Yeah,
We know
it sure
that.
is. As fine artists, we
Yeah,
know that
right,
ourselves.
right.
So, so I'm very high on this project because it's going to showcase what we've been attempting to do for 20 years.
Great.
So.
Well, again, we're through the support of Indiana University East, and we're coming to you today from the Richmond-Wayne County Convention and Tourism Bureau, which, if you don't know, is located at the corner of 40 National Road East, and Industrial Parkway. And along with this segment, we're hoping to highlight and feature many more artists of differing backgrounds through this, what we call Focus on the Arts. I'm Chris Rogan. Thank you.
Our school district is one of the school districts that really has taken a strong emphasis in looking at the needs of young people.
As educators, we spent too much time telling our kids, stay in school, get a good job, and this will just automatically translate into a path to success.
And we have to look at the whole student and the whole community.
An employer is looking at the education system as a factory. Their product is an employee, the employee of the future.
The
first day I was uncertain as to how the kids were going to react to me.
The first time I was a little nervous.
I have never taught anything before.
And I didn't know how the attention spans, how this was going to go over, and I wanted to make sure I was presenting the material that we wanted to cover.
I've done the traditional business things where you stand behind a podium, but to get up in front of a classroom is a little bit different feeling.
The kids were surprisingly patient with me.
This is junior achievement.
The consultant goes into the class and brings with him a multitude of experiences that a teacher doesn't have. This gives us a better product. This gives us a better citizen. This gives us a better community.
And it's a voluntary thing. It's bringing the business world into the schools.
Children are excited about anybody other than the teacher coming into the classroom. First of all, they will view that as kind of a free time, but they don't realize that they're really getting a lot out of it.
Our teachers are embracing it because it's more than just go to the local fire station. Well, I went and saw the fire truck, I put my hand on the wheel, I rang the bell, I hit the siren. I know that there's more to fire departments than just fire trucks.
And my goal is to help you understand more about your community.
And Miss Johnson came over and taught us about communities. I learned about communities and how they work, and I found out that I live in a community. If we didn't have a community, then we wouldn't have a town.
They don't just stand and lecture. They're posters, they're hands-on items.
Well, it's fun because we get to learn things and do activities.
I teach about the Sweeto factory, which is production assembly line, versus the individual baker.
They made pretend donuts and thought that was great.
One